You're our first return guest.
Oh, well, cool. I'm honoured. I think God of Thunder is a bit much, but I have been thinking about, maybe I should add it to my email signature.
You should. I can see the visuals now for this episode with your head placed on Chris Hemsworth's body with it. Throwing the hammer around.
No.
Oh, yes. My name's Sarah Perkins-Kirkpatrick.
I'm Iain Strachan.
And this is Totally Cooked, the climate and weather podcast.
Okay, so Twister. I love this film. What did you think of it at the time? Do you have strong memories of your first viewing?
I was a bit scared, to be honest. Like, The Wizard of Oz did a massive number on me as a kid. I remember, I loved that movie. Loved it as a kid. But every time the tornado would come up, I would bury my head under a cushion and do this la 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 until that bit was over. And this didn't quite have the same effect, but that fear was still there and it was kind of brought out again, particularly, I guess, one of the scenes that I'm sure we'll get there, but when they're watching that movie and I was just in my seat going, oh my God, it's going to get them. So yeah, it still kind of invoked that fear yet wonder and awe as well.
And it's funny you mentioned, well, not funny, the fact that you said you were a bit scared, Sarah. I was scared too. I remember being scared when I saw this. And I mean, even right from the start, it gets straight into it. The titles are ominous. The titles get blown away. And then you have the prologue is, starting with this house in the Midwest. Everything seems fine except, dogs barking, the wind's picking up. There's an alert coming through on the radio and it's
it's eerie.
It goes off, right?
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So I'm just going to admit to something here that my husband, Chris is his name, thought it was absolutely hilarious while we were watching it that I didn't realise that initial scene in the beginning was all about the main character of the movie. I only just worked this out at the right old age of 41.
Nice.
And even our 8-year-old was watching it with us. Even she's like, duh, Mum, how could you not know that?
I think that even as a 10-year-old watching it for the first time, I knew that.
Yeah, I know. It was way over my head, clearly.
Did you also, you've mentioned The Wizard of Oz there, Sarah. Did you notice that her dog is a Yorkshire Terrier?
No, I did not. I just thought it was a bit of a little, a little yappy thing.
I think it's definitely meant to be Toto is Dorothy's dog.
Oh, okay. There was something else later on in the film. There's something that they're showing Judy Garland. Someone's watching a movie and Judy Garland's in it, who of course was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, which I thought was a clever nod.
Catch that. Yep.
Yeah.
There's a few callbacks to it definitely throughout.
Yeah, which is really nice.
So there we have, this house, and on the TV they say that there's a tornado coming and it's big and it might be an F5, and they all start rushing down to the shelter and the girl is calling the dog and they close the door before the dog gets in and it's
Yeah, are they going to make it? I think that's how I felt watching The Wizard of Oz. Will Arnie M and whatever his name was, can't remember his name, make it in the shelter in time? Obviously Dorothy doesn't. Spoiler alert. But yeah, it's that same suspense. Yeah.
Which film are we talking about?
I don't know. That was The Wizard of Oz, sorry. But yeah, it was that same sort of stress that it induced.
And then they trick you because you've got so much sympathy for the dog. The dog makes it in. But then. And so this is my first fact checking, right? So they're in the shelter and the door is gonna blow open unless he holds it shut. Now so he goes over and holds the door shut. The others are at the back of the shelter. Dogs barking. People are screaming. The tornado pulls the door off and takes him with it. Whoosh, he's gone. Now, practical tornado safety concerns. Wouldn't you all just go to the back of the shelter and let the door disappear?
Actually, I didn't have that thought while watching it. My thought was why didn't they get sucked out too? If it, they're just standing and you can see her. She's standing there in awe, in a trance as a kid. Why didn't she just get sucked out too?
I think, in tornadoes, a lot of the wind is going horizontally. So being underground is very much of a help. There is a vertical component as well. Mm-hmm. But I can see why, having a solid door is obviously, when you're building a tornado shelter, you need it to have a solid door. That's going to be important. But yeah, why did they all just go to the back?
In this context, I think we can answer the question, which is that he needed to hold onto the door so that he was killed, so that our hero has narrative momentum. Not that it stopped you from enjoying the film, Sarah, because you just thought some random people died in a tornado.
Pretty much. Can't believe it.
Wow, these things are really dangerous.
I've written here in my notes, we cut to the present day, and that makes me think, well, this is the present day. That was 30 years ago, and the flashback was 30 years before that. Is there now a bigger gap between this film coming out and now, or between the flashback and the events of the film?
Oh, don't say that.
Was the 60s closer to the 90s? Probably.
What? Yeah. Well, I think we're right on the threshold, right? Because it's almost 30 years ago.
Yep.
And yeah, she was 30-something when she was doing all this stuff with tornadoes.
And I tell you what,
we're on the cusp.
This episode will come out next year, so we're going to call this the 30th anniversary of Twister Totally Booked Movie Special.
Who else feels old?
Yeah. A lot of the time, yeah.
Ditto. Yeah.
But in the movie, they cut to their present day and a meteorology office, which is described as the National Severe Storm Laboratory. Tim and Sarah, is this a real place?
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know this.
Yeah, there is. There's a real NSSL. It's based in Norman, Oklahoma, right in tornado country, and they're very good at what they do.
Have you been there? Have you been there, Tim?
Never. No. But
Sarah,
I've been to conferences with people from NSSL and from the Severe Storm Prediction Group, and yeah, they're very good.
And Sarah, you obviously haven't been there because you didn't know they existed.
No, I didn't know they existed, and just verifies very clearly why Tim is here today. I would be like, nah, it's just fictional without even doing any research.
Sarah, you need to look out in future for anyone at a conference from those groups and be like, oh, you guys are real.
Yeah, you guys are real, and I apologise for assuming you didn't exist.
Now, we've got our first jargon checking here, right? So I need some meteorology and specifically some convection jargon checking. There's like radio reports going on. It says 7 a.m. in Oklahoma. The temperature is 75 degrees. Across the state, skies are partly cloudy. The dry line higher over western Oklahoma. Satellite pictures indicate thunderstorms developing. What is a dry line?
The dry line happens when you get two air masses that come together. One of them has more moisture than the other. And so in the States, this is why the Great Plains is so storm prone. You get moisture coming up from the Gulf. So you get this warm air mass coming up. You get hot and dry. It's more important, the moisture difference. You get dry air coming in from the other side. And where they meet, the moist air is pushed over the top of the dry air. And so you have not only the moisture, which is like the fuel for thunderstorms, but also a lifting mechanism, because you need to get the ball rolling, if you like. You need something to mechanically lift air, and in this case it's when the two air masses come together, the moist air gets pushed up over the dry air. So that's the dry line, and it really, on a map it would look like a line, and if it's there for long periods of time, or they're coming together very strongly, then you've got more chance of thunderstorm development.
And there's a bit of dialogue between two characters, very, very minor characters who are in this office, Murphy and Bryce. Murphy says, Bryce, take a look. Caps are starting to break. Does that make sense to you?
Right. I love that you know their names. The caps, yeah. So a cap is a temperature inversion in the atmosphere. So if you, just to take a step back, to get a thunderstorm, you need air to be rising. You need an updraft. And so you need a mechanical lifting mechanism. In this case, that's the dry line with the air masses pushing over each other. A cap is where you have an inversion of temperature in the atmosphere, so that there's actually like some energy that needs to be overcome before the lifted air can start to rise on its own. So air is going to rise when it's more buoyant than its surroundings. So if it's warmer than its surroundings, if you have warm air at the surface that needs to get into cold air for it to be lifted, but you have a layer of warm air that it has to get through first, that's a cap. And so caps starting to break means that you have enough mechanical lifting or enough energy in the lower part of the storm to push those air parcels through that inversion layer and allow them to get into the colder air where they're going to continue to rise. So the cap is it's an inhibiting factor that kind of holds storms back until they get a certain amount of energy to break through.
Hats off to the script writers and their meteorology consultants, because this is the first jargon check and it's spot on. And
they do a pretty good job. I mean, occasionally they kind of throw around terminology that sounds real. Sometimes they misuse it a bit, but in general, it's all none of it's completely off the wall.
The next line of dialogue is, all the models are forecasting lifted indexes from -6 to -10. Yeah. And is that pretty much what you were just talking about?
Yeah, it's a temperature difference. So it's -6. So in this scale, negative means more unstable. So the temperature is such that a lifted parcel is actually warmer than its environment. -6 to -8 would indicate an unstable environment where you have the air wants to rise once it's been lifted a bit by some mechanical forcing.
Now, all that to say that the real, point of this is they then say, if these cells keep building like this, we could have a record outbreak of tornadoes. And the other one's like, this is going to be a long day. And it's like, that's our, that's the film set. So we've got the prologue where it's like tornadoes are scary and deadly. And then we've got, whoa, gee whiz, we're going to have a real day of tornadoes. And it's like, I love that. And it cuts to some stirring music and a flyover of like a classic Midwest cornfield. And it's like, right, we're going for an adventure full of tornadoes. And I'm like, yeah.
Struck yourselves in. Yeah. No, I liked that too. I did like that opening. Didn't realize how accurate it was.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. I was like, I now know people who can tell me. And I'm like, I'm going to find out. And I am impressed.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And of course, what they miss out there is that you can very easily have a day which is super ready to produce tornadoes and nothing actually happens. So that's always the, only less than half of really environmentally prone days for storms actually produce big storms.
But this is one of those days where we are going to get big storms.
Days, yes.
I've written here, the stirring music tells us that we're going to have fun and only a few side characters or bad guys will die from tornadoes.
Only a few. One in
only
particular.
A few. Yeah, we'll get to him.
Yeah, so, I know. I've got lots to say about him.
Yeah.
Love. A person we're talking. Everyone already knows who we're talking about. Love him.
Yeah.
So we meet some of our first heroes. Bill. So funnily enough, Sarah and I have struggled in the past between knowing whether to call them the actor's name or the character's name.
Yes. Not a problem.
Very, conveniently, Bill Paxton is playing Bill. Yeah. So he is. Yep. I love that.
So easy. Help someone like me.
Bill is driving along with his new partner, and he's about to see his ex, who is a fellow storm chaser. And now we meet the amazing Helen Hunt, who is on top of her weather van trying to fix the Doppler radar. Would there be a Doppler radar on top of a van, Tim?
Yep, there could be, and often there are. Yeah, and now in the 30 years since this has happened, the radar technology has got a lot better, of course. So the radars have become much more advanced. But you can totally have a Doppler radar on top of a van.
Fuck yeah, Sarah.
So something that Chris pointed out while we're watching is that why would you want to be so close to a satellite dish and a radar? Because she's like right on top of it, right in its jam. Surely that's not good for your health.
Do you mean in a storm, Sarah?
Well, no, not in a storm, but they have, if you're on a ship or a boat, you don't get close to all of the equipment up top, right? Like it is not good for you. You have to be a certain distance.
Because of infrared, because of like X-rays and stuff.
I guess so, yeah. Like I don't fully, but she's up there like it's nobody's business, just fixing whatever she's fixing. Surely prolonged exposure ain't good for you. I don't know. That was just something that Chris picked up.
Yeah, I assumed that, was it off or on at that stage? I kind of assumed
who knows? Well, yeah.
I have the answer to your question, Sarah, and it's nothing to do with whether she was worried about the radiation or not. It's because, she's got a jumpsuit tied around her waist. She's no nonsense. She's a badass. She's clever. She's practical, but she's still commercially and conventionally attractive. And that's what being on top of the radar van is telling us.
That's what it's all about.
That's very true.
Yep.
Also, she is a very good actor. I don't know what happened to Helen Hunt, but I think she was great in this film. I always thought she was really good.
They'll be saying that about you when the podcast finishes. Sarah was great on that podcast. I don't know what happened to her. Her life is over. Now she's not totally cooked.
Yes. That's the reality. Yeah.
In fact, that's what happens if you stand in front of a microwave radar. You get totally cooked.
Yes. Ooh.
Well, look, okay, so I'm going to make it a bit meta now, or no, not meta. Hollywood analysis, Sarah. Again, I'm afraid you already implicitly understand or know this, but the answer I'll give you is that she was probably about 30 in this film. I think maybe 35, and Hollywood leading ladies in the 90s and 2000s aged out very unfairly quickly, and leading men go for much longer.
I'm just going to Google this.
She's probably the same age as Tom Cruise, I would say.
Helen.
We're doing a bit of fact checking.
She's 62 years now.
Yeah, and so Tom Cruise is that age, and he's still blockbuster bankable star.
I think this movie may not also. What's the rule about women in movies where they have to? It's
Bechdel test.
I'm glad you didn't remember the name, and I'm pretty sure this movie doesn't pass.
No, because it's only her and Aunt Meg and her and Bill's new partner, talking about him.
Yep. So they have to talk about something that's not a man to pass. Yep.
For a certain amount of dialogue, and it definitely doesn't happen.
Well, that's a slap in the face, isn't it?
Let's improve the mood with a jargon test.
Okay.
Jargon check. So, Joe, by the way, Helen Hunt is playing Joe. Joe says, looks like the dry line has stalled. Give me a sector scan west, northwest, look at mid-levels for rotation, and increase the PRF.
So
what are they talking about?
I had to look up PRF. It turns out it's pulse repetition frequency, but a real radar term. Apparently, when you increase the PRF, it increases your ability to look at Doppler velocities. So that's how you look at how the storm is moving. A sector scan, that would just mean a scan in a certain direction. So that makes sense. And mid-levels for rotation also checks out, because with Doppler radars, you can get the movement of particles in the atmosphere, whether they're coming towards you or away from you, you being the radar. And you can look for rotation, and that's a strong indication of a storm being severe when there's rotation involved.
These guys really knew their shit. Okay, now we have the entrance of one of my favorite characters, Dusty, played by the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman, in an unusually small character role for a very, successful, well-regarded actor. Sarah's like, who is this? Who is this person?
He's he was such a serious actor, and he's in this role where, he's kind of, I don't know what the right word is.
Hamming it up.
He's not serious.
So he's on the team, and also on the team, another recognisable face is Alan Rutt, who is Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Cameron, yeah.
The guy who won't get out of bed and come on the adventure. Sarah's now doing more Googling.
Oh, yeah. No, I knew him. Sorry, I didn't know that it was named, but yeah.
Not driving a sports car in this movie.
No.
Not getting trouble from his dad.
His dad's sports car would not have survived Twister.
No.
Okay, so Joe and Bill reunite, and it's all very awkward and fun. And at the same time, I think on the radio or storm chasers are saying that it's the biggest series of storms in 12 years, one lined up right after another. And the NSSL says they've never seen anything like it. And it's like, fuck yeah, this is going to be great.
It reminds me of like planes lining up to land when the airport's really busy, like bang, 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 bang. They're just all going to hit consecutively. But I don't think that's quite what happened.
Also difficult to tell beforehand. Like, I suppose on radar you can see, but for that kind of lead time that they're looking at, they would have been talking about really, this looks like an exciting day, but I think it's not until really the time of or afterwards where they could talk about historical precedent and that kind of stuff.
That's interesting. Yep. So they're laying it on a bit thick there.
Yeah.
Fair enough too. So the storm is being laid on thick, and so is the human drama, because Joe and Bill reunite, and he wants divorce papers so he can marry Melissa. And Joe is kind of putting a brave face on things and playing it cool, but she is a bit taken aback by this.
Why does she want to delay the divorce? It just sets us up for the rest of the movie, doesn't it? And
the divorce papers are never blown away by wind at any point, which I was expecting the whole time.
Very durable.
They could have been shredded by a storm.
Very
given
durable.
It's a movie about extreme wind.
So yeah, it's all very awkward and uncomfortable. But then another major character, an inanimate character, is introduced. Dorothy, the new device that it seems like Bill pioneered with Joe, and then he left because they broke up. But they have created it. They've realized their vision, and it's a big tin can full of little probes. Little balls, little twister balls.
Which only works if all the balls are inside the can when the twister goes over it.
Yep. They can't just get picked up.
Can't just be blown away. Has to be inside the can, and the can has to be making whoop whoop noises and with lights flashing for it to work.
Here comes the cynicism, the skepticism. Now let's think about how we monitor tornadoes or convection storms now, how we did it in the 90s. Moving from a jargon check to a technical check, do these devices resemble anything like what we did, do, or could use to measure tornadoes, Tim?
So there were instruments, or there are instruments that are weighted, that sit on the ground and are designed to be very robust so the storm can go over them and can take measurements. The thing that Dorothy really made me think of, or at least the sensors in it, is actually not a tornado instrument as such, but a hail instrument, which is being developed at the moment. And, as you know, I'm more of a hail person than a tornado person, so this is just what I'm thinking of.
Don't tell anyone that. You're our twister expert.
Well, danger. But these things are called hailsons, and they do look like the sensors that are inside Dorothy. But instead of being kind of sucked up into the storm by the storm winds, they're attached to the bottom of a balloon, a weather balloon, which is then launched into the updraft of the storm. And then at some point, they've got a little actuator on it which can release the sonde from the balloon. And then after that, they're roughly the same weight as a hailstone, so they just get taken up into the storm and moved around in the storm, and they can send back, particularly like what is really interesting is where they go in the storm, because there's a lot of uncertainty around the ways that updrafts move around and the trajectory that a hailstone has inside the storm. And so these are under development now by primarily by Joshua Soderholm at the Bureau of Meteorology, and it's very exciting. He was able to go and actually put these into some storms in a recent field campaign in the US that was called Ice Chip, which is a very large field campaign. And so, yeah, there are really instruments that can be drawn up into a storm like that, but not any that are kind of en masse like Dorothy with, loads and loads of sensors that go up into the storm that I have come across.
Your point builds nicely to some exposition, which is delivered for Melissa, but is for us, the audience. And Joe says, scientists have been studying tornadoes forever, but nobody knows how a tornado works. We have no idea what's going on inside because no one's ever been able to take measurements from inside the funnel. Is that essentially true, or is that a little bit of dramatic license?
I mean, there's some truth to it because I think there's still quite a lot of uncertainty around the real processes in detail that go on in tornadoes. And there's a lot of work that's gone on in tornado genesis. That's like exactly how they form, and things like dissipation and...
Just got an image of Phil Collins drumming inside a tornado.
Yes.
Tornado genesis for your benefit, listener.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, there's still a lot of uncertainty around the exact processes that go on. So, there's truth to the statement, but, there's also a lot of people working on these things.
She says that, and this is, 1996, she says the current, warning is 3 minutes and that they want to extend it to 15 minutes. Do you happen to know, Hail Tim, what the real kind of amount of warning you might get if a major tornado is bearing down on you in the Midwest US?
I mean, usually it would be based on radar images, I think. Mm-hmm. And even then, there's some difficulty in actually seeing when there's just a lot of rotation and when there's an actual tornado, because tornadoes form quite low to the ground and radars have a beam that looks up into the atmosphere. So it can be hard. So, in the order of minutes for when think of when you look at, say, the Bureau's radar for a storm coming across Sydney, you're looking in sort of the few minutes, and tornadoes are short-lived things as well. So, that's probably in the right ballpark. I think something that's now being done to help improve it is a thing called Warn on Forecast, which is where they run, and this is people like the Storm Prediction Center and the NSSL, run very regularly updated weather models that take into account all sorts of information, including radar, the latest radar images and satellite images and ground measurements. And they run a lot of these models in an ensemble, and then they can say, well, look, if a lot of these different ensemble members are predicting a tornado that occurs in the next sort of half an hour or an hour or even a few hours, then they can give more information out. But it's still a prediction and not actually seeing the tornado in radar data or on the ground.
It's still probabilistic.
Yes. But it does really help, and they have some nice use cases on their website where they show kind of cases where the Warn on Forecast has really increased the amount of warning they could give people.
All thanks to the efforts of this film, I guess.
Well, the efforts of scientists like in this film.
Well, speaking of aiming for the sky, over at the movie, we have some action. In fact, literally, someone says, Joe, we got major action. The NSSL says the caps are breaking. The tower's going up to 30 miles up the dry line. I'm happy with that. Like, it's action stations, Everyone scrambles to chase a twister, and Bill isn't going to follow them, but Joe hasn't signed the divorce papers yet.
What's holding her back?
So that, fortunately for us, means that we're going on the adventure too. And I hadn't realized this when I was 10, but now that I'm thinking about this from a sort of dramaturgical perspective, Melissa is us. She's the audience, right? She's along for the ride and doesn't know anything about tornadoes, but has just found herself on this adventure.
I didn't like her. Sarah, insufferable. She was so annoying. Sorry.
In that case, as the audience, she's the audience, you found yourself annoying.
But then we can't feel too sorry for her when she has to leave later. So
I like her. I think she's a good sport. She's like, Bill's like, oh, you don't want to come. And she's like, I find this kind of interesting. I'm going to tag along. And I'm like, me too, Melissa. Me too.
Right.
No, I just didn't like her.
Damn.
I don't know. I'm trying to think why. Like, obviously she didn't belong in that sort of setting. Like, it just wasn't her thing. And there's nothing wrong with that as such. But yeah, I don't know. She just got on my
Unlike
nerves.
you, who belongs in the field.
Point taken. Oh yeah, I didn't even know this severe storm place existed. Yeah, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to turn off my mic and...
So someone else arrives who you may or may not like. Jonas Miller, Cary Elwes.
From
love
The
him.
Princess Bride, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that movie.
He's also in Robin Hood Men in Tights, the parody. And and they're like, why should we follow you? And he's like, because unlike most other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
Yes. Oh, I used to love that movie as a kid. I had the biggest crush on him. I'm like, why didn't he become super famous? I thought he was just the bee's knees.
Yeah, I think it is interesting that he didn't become a leading man.
I love him so much. And I don't know if I realised, like when I first saw the movie, who it was. I can't, I don't have any, I might have, but I don't have a recollection of it. But this time I was like swooning at it. And even my 8-year-old was like, Mum, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like this?
And so he's got corporate sponsorship, fancy gadgets, no instincts, and as Bill says, he's just in it for the money. And I'm like, this is me.
So something interesting about it was like when Bill went, but he's got corporate sponsors in that really, I'm like, oh my God, is this us? Like, is this us with our like we don't have corporate sponsors, but we're publicizing, we're getting out there and talking to everyone. Like we're not true to the discipline. We're not not just scientists. We're trying to do more than that. Is this what the rest of the world thinks of us?
Yeah, I work with industry. I had the same thought.
Yeah. Well, what I think the reality is that even with corporate sponsorship, like, the other guys the other guys are like, make, do, and mend, throw it together. My Doppler radar's broken. They'd have corporate sponsorship and still be struggling. There is no like big corporate tornado chaser, right? It's a cinematic device.
Mm.
But yeah, that's me. Like, I'm just here for the ride. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm following the scientists because I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
But Bill and Joe, they also have instincts, right? They're looking at sculptures turning and looking at grass in the wind and thinking, they just know what's going to happen. I think they say at one stage, he can, what does she say? He can tell what a storm is feeling or what it's thinking.
And then he grabs the dirt and lets it run.
Yeah, that's it. That's the dirt runs through his fingers. Yeah.
And so one of the fancy corporate trucks runs Bill off the road and damages a tire. So they all have to stop. And this is when Bill discovers that Cary Elwes has stolen his idea for Dorothy and made a slicker, more expensive version.
Oh, he can steal anything any day. He's gorgeous.
Do you have like a devastatingly handsome heatwave rival in like the US or something, Sarah?
I don't know.
You square off against at a conference,
But then I just swoon at the same time. No, I don't know, and I don't want to think about it because, no.
What about a nemesis? I feel like a lot of people have nemesis, and I feel deprived of a nemesis.
I've just remembered this great bit, right? So Cary Elwes is great in The Princess Bride, but I also think he plays a swarmy villain really well. And he like the knockout blow that really forces Bill to get involved now is like he says to him, "Oh, by the way, I really enjoy your weather reports." Like,
yeah.
And he's like, hold me back.
But actually that kind of struck a chord with me, right? Because I don't actually know, Tim, if you've had a similar experience, but definitely not the female bit. But, for so long I was bagged out as being just a weather girl by family and friends, like just a bit of ribbing on the side. But it had that connotation with it that if you're a weather reporter, you're just there to look pretty or to present something. You don't actually know what you're talking about. That is changing now. There's a lot of people on TV with meteorological degrees.
Yeah, I mean, it
was but it was a condescending go at him, which I was like, oh. That's what people used to call me.
No, and Joe has already had a little dig at him as well. Like Joe's been like, oh, you're a weatherman now. Oh, and it's like, oh. And I have a question, actually. I mean, we kind of touched on this, but do the hardcore dynamicists and storm chasing researchers look down their nose at TV forecasters? Is this a thing, or is this a cinematic device?
It's not something I've really come across. But I think it's absolutely right, though, what Sarah was saying, that a lot of weather forecasters who have TV roles now are actually really, really well informed and know exactly what they're talking about.
It's almost the other way around. Like the meteorologists and dynamicists are the ones who know more and are like, have got all the physics. And
I think, they're playing the rivalry up for Hollywood. I think in most cases, the severe storms community is like most scientific communities, is very friendly. Like there's a lot of people working for the same reasons, and people chat, and I don't think rivalries are a really big thing. And it's not really something that I've come across.
So this is what this grievous insult, along with stealing Dorothy, is what drives Bill over the edge, and he's like, right, I'm in. I'll give you one day to make it work.
And he leaps into his car, which is already fitted with a radio.
Yep.
That's right.
And a new tire.
People have radios.
Before they drive off, though, we do. So I have referenced the Bechdel test. Bechdel? I don't know. Bechamel? The Bechamel test. There is a conversation between Melissa and Joe in the diner, but it doesn't pass the test because it's about Bill. And Melissa says, "You're still in love with him, aren't you?" Awkward pause. Check, please.
Yeah, she doesn't answer.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious, firstly, that we already know this. She's still in love with her ex-husband.
Yep.
But secondly, a line like that was inevitably going to be dropped at some point during the movie.
And it's dropped
Just
pretty
to make
early.
sure
I
we
like
knew.
it. Yeah, we got weather tension, we got romantic tension. It's the dice is loaded. So everyone drives off, and Jonas, Cary Elwes, the sneak, follows them. And this is another great sequence. This is a great sequence, I think, where it cuts from car to car, and everyone's playing their own like hype music. You know, like I think there's some Pink Floyd or something. There's the William Tell Overture. Someone's singing Oklahoma the musical, and it's like, yeah.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman's like blasting it out the front of his car. I was thinking, can you imagine if you worked with someone who just blasted music out wherever they went? Like, that would be wild.
I do, but not around work people.
And right at the back of the convoy, Melissa's trying to keep up, and she's speaking to clients on the phone, which becomes a running joke.
That's right. I liked those conversations.
They're great conversations, yeah. And back in the front and the lead truck, Joe and Bill are driving along with Dorothy, and there's a bit of dialogue here, which I kind of did the Leonardo DiCaprio meme thing with, where she one of them says, "Look at those mammatus," and I, even a week before this, I watched this, would not have known what that meant. But friend of the show, Bethan White, was posting about mammatus clouds on Cumulus, our internal messaging platform, recently. And I'm like, yes.
Excellent.
You know, yeah.
I know that those are real clouds.
Yep.
They were that was lost on me the first time I saw it, but yeah, I got it that time.
You know what they are?
Yeah.
What's a mammatus cloud, Sarah? What does it do?
Bulgy clouds in the sky.
Yeah, technical.
Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, no, that's the technical definition.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, that's
they had me at pouch-like sacks.
Yeah, those are some thirsty, dodgy, sus clouds.
Very.
Wow.
Very, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You never look at a mammatus the same way now, will you, kids?
No.
So, meanwhile, we're having a bit of fun here, but meanwhile, Helen Hunt's character Joe is giving a real masterclass in mischief. Like, they're talking in the car, and Bill says, "Yes, she's very nice. No, she doesn't work at the station. She's a therapist." And she says, "Oh, yours?"
Again, obvious, but really well. Helen did
So
a really great
good.
job.
Yeah,
Yep.
she is so good at this, like, cheeky, like, you know, just winding him up. And I mean, she just doesn't take the relationship seriously. She's like, "What are you doing with this woman? It's clearly a rebound.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you back before this day is over if we don't die."
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. We all know how this is going to end, right? We know it's so obvious.
It's also really funny because it cuts the truck behind them, and it's revealed that all the supporting characters are listening to this fight on the radio. And they're like, "Oh,
That's right.
they're
Not
getting
the
better at
only
this."
time where there's an open mic or a hot mic moment.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Yes, that's coming. So dramatic turn off to chase the Twister. Jonas is hot on their heels because he's copying them, and they're stuck in like a little drainage creek between the fields. They're hiding under a bridge. There isn't time to set Dorothy up, and this is kind of the first encounter with a tornado. You know, this is the first close call of the movie. How do you guys feel like during this bit?
Well, clearly they're not going to die.
Not yet.
No.
But it's scary.
No.
I think it's scary.
Yeah, and they're in this kind of under a bridge, which is a really bad place to be.
Tell us more.
And, well,
Discuss, yes.
there's underpasses, and this comes up in the new Twister movie, which we'll talk about another time. But underpasses and highway overpasses, people often go under them thinking it'll be an escape from the storm, but it's a really bad place to be because it funnels the air, which, as I was saying before, is mostly horizontal. People think that they go to escape this kind of upward sucking air, but actually it's a lot horizontal. It goes under the bridge, gets squished even more, and goes even faster. And people get into terrible strife. So
They die.
So the truck is lifted away. They're saved by hiding under the bridge. Are you saying it's far more likely that the wind would have just pushed the truck into them and killed them?
Yeah, or that they would have been blown away, or they would have been hit by other debris, or it's just not a good place to be in a tornado.
There's also other not good places that they go into, but I'm
Several.
sure we're going to get to this.
Several.
We will touch on them. So the jargon is checking out, but the physics of safety is perhaps getting a D- in this moment.
I think also there's quite a lot of selective. The tornadoes are a little bit selective about what they pick up and toss away in this movie. You know, often the characters are running around
Sounds
while
like,
other large objects are being thrown around. And
Sounds
they're
like my
okay.
exes.
Are you okay, Ian?
I am, but I've had a lot of therapy.
Okay.
Another great little line from Joe. She's like, "Where's my truck?" And it just drops into the street in front of Melissa. And she's like,
Yes.
there it is.
And she just freaks out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she is freaking out, and Bill has to calm her down. So we've got a bit of a jargon check coming up here. Joe says, what's on the mesonet? Mesonet. What's that,
Yep.
Tim?
So, I mean, again, I looked it up, but it turns out it's a set of ground stations across Oklahoma. So they're weather stations that give lots of information about the weather, and they are specifically designed to be a network to monitor storms. So they've got wind strength. I note she then goes on to talk about VIL, which is not something you can measure with the mesonet. That's a radar term. So they're mixing things up there, but it is a real thing. And VIL is vertically integrated liquid. It gives an idea of how much moisture there is in the vertical column, and a lot of moisture gives a lot of fuel for the storm. So they're mixing sensors a little bit, but it kind of is still making sense.
So not only did they do their homework, you've done yours as well. I really appreciate this.
Well, had to be prepared.
We could learn from this, Sarah.
Yes, I know. I was like, what? I completely went over my head. I was too busy mentally flirting with Jonas in this film.
Your mind is elsewhere. And so, Joe and Bill are heading off after this tornado, which is described as a sidewinder, and they pursue it, leaving everyone else behind. And Joe says, I've never seen it clouded like this. And Bill says, I don't think anybody has. And it's like, oh, wow, this is special, And then Joe says, we're in the core. What does she mean there? Is that like the center of the thunderstorm cell, or what? Yeah, is that what she's referring to?
Yeah, I kind of did a double take at this as well. So the core would normally be the center of the mesocyclone, which is or you could talk about the core as the center of the mesocyclone. You could also talk about the center of the tornado, which the tornado is kind of embedded in the mesocyclone. But I think normally the core of the storm would be the mesocyclone, which is the rotating updraft. And
would you be able to? Could you tell that you were in there if you were at ground level?
I mean, if it was essentially not super easily, I think you would have an idea, I think, because you can see the overall storm structure. You can see that usually storms have like precipitation at the front and winds at the back, so you don't necessarily see what's going on at the back of the storm. So that, they'd have an idea, but I did kind of do a double take when they said they were in the core there.
But there's no real time to dwell on the accuracy or not of that, because this is one of the great lines in the movie that gets delivered now by Melissa, who's in the back seat on the phone to her clients. What does she say, Sarah?
We got cows.
I gotta go, Julie. I gotta go, Julie. We got cows.
Yeah. If you were alive 30 years ago, you remember that line from the movie.
So good.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I remember that as being like that was another of these special effects. Where I was like, "Wow, that was really cool."
Cow.
They made a cow fly around.
The cow looks all right. It's a pretty good CGI cow. Yeah.
It's not impressed. It's not happy, Jan.
No. And I mean, I didn't even pick this up during the viewing the other night, but ironically, we now have so Melissa has a bit of a freak out. Bill calms her down. And then we have a bit of a little respite in Aunt Meg's very nice house. Steaks being served, and they're watching Jonas on TV and booing him. And then they start talking about why. Melissa asks, "Why do you call Billy the extreme?" They start telling stories about his kind of wild storm chasing behavior, and we also have a little bit of exposition in here because we discussed the Fujita scale,
which is the speed scale for tornadoes, wind. Tornadoes.
Yeah. I mean, what the words they use are, it's a measure of a tornado based on how much it eats, which I think is a little bit of an exaggeration, right?
But isn't it based on, yes, it's to do with the winds, but how much destruction it causes?
Yeah.
And it's not possible to really know the strength until after the storm has occurred.
Yeah.
And you look at the damage it's inflicted. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's based. I mean, it's a scale of wind speeds, but it's worked out by looking at damage. Because there are certain thresholds of damage that are caused by certain wind speeds.
So technically, they're right.
Yep.
Destruction, and then they start talking about the different intensities. And Melissa says, "Is there an F5? Has anyone ever seen one?"
Everyone goes quiet.
Just one person, and of course,
Sarah's saying, "Who?
Who? Is it me?"
Is it Joe? Poor old Joe.
And there's a nice little moment between Joe and Aunt Meg, and they're talking about Bill. And it's clear that that's going to happen.
Oh, yes.
But that's enough of a pause. That's enough of a break. And now they're off again, racing after another storm. And there's a nice little line where someone in one of the trucks is like, ordinary people spend their lives avoiding situations like this.
Well, that makes me sound boring because I don't like field work.
Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe I should be out there chasing storms.
Yeah, like I'm inadequate, clearly. We all are.
So they're after another tornado. And I thought of you, Tim, when I was watching it because we have hail in this one.
Hail for the first time.
Would there always be hail with a tornado or not always?
Not always. Most certainly there would be ice up high in the storm. So there'd be hail around. And certainly it's very common also to get hail. But it tends to form in a separate part of the storm to where the tornado forms. So often the tornado wouldn't come with hail, like at the same time. There wouldn't be hail mixed into the tornado winds, but the same storm system could easily produce hail and a tornado.
Is it true that tornadoes generally form at the back of the storm? It's like
the
arse end. It's like the final, just going to fuck you up a bit more type part.
Yeah, so it's all about where you get the right conditions, and in that part of the storm you get the updraft and the big downdraft kind of very close to each other, and so you get a lot of wind shear, so a lot of wind going in different directions that can create a rotating motion to kind of get something going. Yes, that's right.
I don't think, like, just watching the movie again and kind of knowing that, it seemed that a lot of the tornadoes were like just occurring at any point in time in the storm. Like it wasn't that link, or that accuracy wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, I think they are kind of difficult. You know, they're unpredictable. They move in ways that are difficult to predict. And there's storm chasers do a lot of trying to be in the right place at the right time, and a lot of driving along gridded country roads to get into the right place to see it. So I did think that just the sheer number of tornadoes they got in a very short amount of time was a bit unrealistic.
And so in this latest one, there's hail falling. There's very massive black CGI clouds above us. And Joe says we have upflow. Would we have upflow, Tim?
I mean, I took that just to mean the updraft, which, yes, you need an updraft in a storm like this to get air up high and to freeze everything. And so, yeah, that would be a big part. And
they're driving along. Bill's like kind of climbing out the back of the cab of the truck to set up the latest Dorothy. I think we're Dorothy 2 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And we have there's a bit of a ropey explosion here. Like the CGI explosions are not the best in this.
Yeah.
Some telephone poles are collapsing. The tornado disappears, and Dorothy 2 is knocked over, which, as we've already identified, is the end of a Dorothy. Like,
can't work then. No.
Once it's been knocked over.
Yep, that's its fatal flaw.
Yeah.
There is one jargon thing around this point in the film. Not sure if it's exactly here, but they talk about the cone of silence, which is a term people talk about, but it's not actually a physical. It's not silence in the hearing thing sense. It's a radar term, and what it means is that as your radar is sending beams out into the sky, it's rotating like this, so it makes kind of a cone above the highest scan where you don't see anything on your radar, and that's the ring around the radar images where you don't have any information. That's the cone of silence. But they're standing there going like, "Ooh, it's the cone of silence."
I think the cone of silence needs to be implemented amongst friendship groups who gossip too much. You know, I need like cone of silence.
That's right.
I have this image, and my dog's had it a couple of times when they have the cone around
the
their
cone of shame.
Yeah. Cone of shame. This is what we need to do if people gossip too much, is put that on and put them in the corner.
So, Dorothy 2 having been decimated by being knocked over slightly, Tim, you've already alluded to this, but we have another open channel moment here, which is Bill and Joe have this really big emotional scene where he's like, killing yourself won't bring your dad back. Which if that line didn't explain it to you, Sarah, I don't know what you were watching.
I was just thinking the same thing. What was I thinking when I was like 13 or whatever? Jonas, that's probably the whole...
He says, stop living in the past and look at what you've got right in front of you, like me. And Melissa is hearing this over on the other channel or on the other car. So I got some maybe some of the last jargon checking, probably because the jargon starts running out and my attention span for jargon checking started running out too, Tim. But
you know what? I had none to begin with. This was all stuff that I didn't even register when we were watching it.
This is
a glass of wine beforehand.
This is the story, I think. The story of the podcast, the story of the engagement team, Sarah, is like, you know, I Googled the script. I got the whole script for this. This is where these quotes are from. Tim's been off checking the acronyms to see if they're true. You're like, what are we doing today? Who am I? What's happening? What podcast is this?
It's true. It's like, that's pretty accurate.
And yet,
I can't even show up on time, like in my own house.
Late in your own house.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Well,
wow.
okay. So the back at the Bryson Murphy back at the NSSL, Tim.
Bryson Murphy.
They've said the gate velocities are maxed out. If those two cells converge, ... And Murphy says inbounds and outbounds have doubled. And at this point, I'm like, I have no idea if that's like nonsense or not. Are they losing the plot a little bit there?
It's sort of a mixture, I think. So in radar terminology, the gate is the distance from the radar. So I think they're talking about the velocity difference between two measurements at two different radiuses from the radar. So that's like the closest two measurements that you can get. And they're saying the difference between those two is really large. So that would indicate that there's a lot of rotation going on. So that kind of checks out. The in and outbound,
huge storm is forming. Like a huge storm is forming, is what they're saying.
And it's really powerful. And then the inbound and the outbound I took to mean wind shear. There's a lot of difference in the inbound versus the outbound wind. That's how I took it.
Fair. Yep. What were you thinking at this point, Sarah?
No, can't remember this bit.
Did you? So you said you saw it when you were 13. Have you watched it again?
I don't know. I'm trying to take myself back to Saturday night. There was a glass of 2 of wine involved, and
drunk
an 8-year-old
Twister.
didn't go to bed. It wasn't. I was not drunk.
What did the 8-year-old? What did the 8-year-old think of Twister?
Tipsy Twister. There we go.
Yeah, great. We have probably the last quiet moment in the movie, but it's a bit of an illusion. And you mentioned this, Sarah, the drive-through. They've stopped in another small town. They're stopped in a small town. There's ballads playing from the diner. Joe borrows a pen and signs the divorce papers. I don't get that. She's, what's she doing? Like,
this is why I expected them to be blown away after that, but they never were. So I want to know what happened to the divorce papers.
So there's technically divorced. If the papers haven't been destroyed, they're technically divorced.
Maybe they have to be submitted. They probably have to be submitted though, right?
Yeah, true.
That's true.
Yeah. And Melissa is in her hotel room thinking deeply about her future. Maybe that's where Wizard of Oz is playing, in the motel room TV.
Yes, I think it is, yeah. Oh, no, it wasn't The Wizard of Oz. It was some other movie with Judy Garland in it.
Okay, yeah.
When she was older.
And The Shining is playing at the drive-in, which is great. It's like a horror movie in a disaster film. Like, and then the disaster, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the tornado destroys the horror film. So the disaster movie destroys the horror movie. That's a nice touch, I think.
But there's a couple of horror movie elements here, like the TV's going out, everyone's unaware, and then there's a moment where they say, it's already here.
Yes,
and,
yes.
That's a bit like it's coming from inside the building, it's like that feeling.
That's true, actually, Tim. Yeah.
So the tornado, this is the thing though, right? Like the tornado just appears out of nowhere. Like they maybe hear it for like 10 seconds. There would have been a storm before that, surely.
It would have been stormy. I think it's possible that because these storms are quite large and they can move. They don't have to always follow a sort of linear track. So
yeah, true.
It's possible that you could get that. But I would think it would be generally stormy. You'd have lightning around and.
Okay.
Well, there is
there'd be indicators that the weather's not great.
Exactly. And
at the start of this scene in the small town at night, there is thunder in the background. It's like you can tell that it's a hot, humid, stormy summer night. But yeah, the tornado itself, it's, as you've said, Tim, it's already here. Like it appears out of nowhere. And I think it's very poor form that it's at night as well. That's really rude of the Twister to not take the evening off. Like. So they run into the... I think
it also growls in this point. There's sort of growling noises that you hear. This happens at the beginning as well.
Yes.
We
were poking fun
sort
at
of
that.
hear this growling noise.
We were sounding, because that's sometimes the noise my 8-year-old makes when she's whinging, is that exact noise.
A tornado noise, as it turns out.
Yeah, well, that's it. And it would be, then Chris tried to mimic said noise, and then he sounded like a constipated cow, and then we come full circle to the cow flying around. But yeah, it's like, what noise? Yeah.
Literally
what
full
noise?
Circle.
But what noise does a tornado make? Does a tornado make a noise? Philosophical question. I put it out there.
Well, if no one hears it in a forest.
Yes.
I think they are tremendously loud when they're right next to you.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
So they run for it and they hide in the pit of the garage, the mechanic's garage. The tin roof is stripped away. The tools go flying. Very scary. Mm-hmm. Garage is completely destroyed, but everyone is fine. Probably someone gets like a hubcap or a bit of a wheel grazes their head. But based on our earlier conversation, hiding in that pit in that situation probably about as good as you can do if there isn't a shelter around?
I think, get down as low as possible and in the sturdiest position possible. Yep, away from debris that they didn't really manage.
Just like on the dance floor.
Yes.
Get down as low as possible in the sturdiest position
and as sturdy as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that for the next night out. And cut to Aunt Meg's house at a different town just down the road. Sarah.
Oh, I liked Meg.
Yeah, Meg's great.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt, sad for her. But anyway.
She's reading a book. She's reading a book. She's watching a classic movie. And her wind charms start going crazy. And then the thunder and lightning begins, and it's very worrying. Perhaps most worrying because there's a dog involved. So they realise that the storm's going to get Meg, and they saddle up to go and save her. But before they do that, we have some relationship drama, because this is where Melissa pulls the pin on things with Bill.
That's right. I'm not going. I'm not
That's
coming.
right. Yeah. I can't compete with this.
Sherlock. Yeah. We knew this was coming. We knew it.
And I think, as far as Hollywood breakups go, this is really very friendly and polite,
Yeah. I didn't mind her in this scene. I didn't mind this character in her scene because she was sticking up for herself. She saw the writing on the wall, went, you know what? I don't like this. I need to deal with this. I don't need to get out of this situation.
And it's very graceful as well. So this is my point. I know that you instinctively disliked her, Sarah, but I think she's a really good sport. Like she gets out of her comfort zone to go into the country with Bill. She does come along for the ride. She nearly dies a couple of times and is like, do you know what? Maybe it's not for me. As in,
tapping out.
Yeah, and then she's like, and in fact, I think that probably we aren't right for each other. But it's all like, shake hands on a draw and walk away politely. It's very good role modeling for handling your emotions and taking responsibility for yourself in a relationship.
So Paul, who here out of the four of us has ever had a breakup that amicable before?
Producer Zach has got his hand up. I've had breakups that amicable, definitely. Yeah.
But that easy, that like 2 minute spiel, like, you know what, this isn't working. We're not right for each other. See you later.
I can think of at least one that was that straightforward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But, Melissa puts her finger on it. She's like, the funny thing is, I'm not that upset. And it's like, it's easy to have an amicable breakup with someone you don't really like that much.
And with the time pressure of a tornado bearing down on you.
Yeah, that's true.
Makes it quick.
Very efficient, yeah. So Act 3 begins. I think we're in the eye of the storm now. We're getting towards
good one.
Getting towards the dramatic conclusion. They go to Meg's town, which has been completely flattened, and they climb through the wreckage of her house and rescue her, narrowly dodging the falling 90s TV.
Yep, heavy.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would much rather a modern flat screen fell on me than a old 90s brick. They dodge the TV, and Meg gets out, and Bill rescues Moose, the golden retriever, who I'm amused to see does not look impressed when he's being carried out of the house.
Would you? Like,
well, the whole thing would be...
I kind of would. I'd be like, yeah, thanks for that. I don't have to walk.
This is good.
Yeah. I think he's just had a very disagreeable day, His house has collapsed around him. Yeah.
He's just feeling a bit under the weather, to be honest.
The house collapses, but everyone is okay. There are reports on the radio of the strongest F5 tornado the state has seen in 30 years. Now, based on what you were saying, Tim, that they wouldn't be able to forecast that. It would be later they would say, oh, that was probably one of the largest F5s we've ever had or something.
Yep. The best they could do is they could see perhaps, if they had a spotter out on the ground who could see it and see what it was doing and give a report, then or perhaps through radar data they might be able to see that's particularly nasty. But I don't think that's really the way it works.
And also, it's nighttime. They're getting this report of a F5 tornado, but they don't go after it until the following morning. So it's not going to hang around for that long, right?
There's a whole lot of time that passes. I noticed this too, and then they go out and there it is, still there. It's still
very
F5.
decent. Very decent of them. How long, even if you had a very strong and persistent F5, how long is it lasting for? An hour? 45 minutes?
Yeah, that kind of range. It's certainly not like hours and hours and into the next day. As day breaks and as they manufacture their sensors and get ready for it.
Oh, yeah, of course. I forgot about that bit. So Meg and Joe, Meg encourages Joe that she's got to go and do this. She's got to get Dorothy launched. And then Joe has her brainwave looking at Meg's wind charms.
That's right. And then they get a whole bunch of the alfoil cans.
Aluminum.
All of which are Pepsi, I think.
Many are Pepsi. Yep.
Clever
Bit of
sponsorship.
brand placement.
Proper 90s Pepsi as well. Like a t-shirt in that color would be great. So yeah, we've got the cans, we've got the final act. It's dawn, dramatic music, some last minute changes to the remaining Dorothys. But I think there must be two I think there's two Dorothys left, right? So this is the point where we have a dodgy CGI tree come at them. And
That's right. They get stuck.
I think along with a satellite earlier, it's one of the only points where I'm like, that looks like terrible CGI. It looks like...
I wasn't super impressed with the oil tanker that comes out of a storm as well.
Yep. And very helpfully nudges them off the tree.
Yeah, that
right.
was too much. That was a bit too much for me.
Yeah, very slowly, I thought.
Very slowly and gently nudge them off the tree before then dropping and exploding. And it's a movie, though, so they just drive through it, James Bond style.
What are the chances of literally a petrol tanker flying around a tornado that just happens to save you? Who knew fossil fuels could save your life?
Wow. You've changed your tune, Sarah. Every ton of CO2 that nudges us off a tree branch matters. And now they have just one Dorothy remaining, which is, pretty stressful.
They realise finally that, maybe it's a bit light. Maybe it's going to, because that was the problem with the second last one. It was going to just be picked up, then not going to work.
Yep. Jonas looks like he's going to get there first with his stolen, slick, corporate, evil Dorothy. And Joe has science at heart, though. She calls him up on the radio and it's like, look, you need to anchor the pack, as Tim just pointed out. You need to make it heavier. Because she wants the probes to get inside the tornado and for the data to save lives, even if it's Jonas who gets the data. But he doesn't listen to her, and then he ignores their advice to get clear of this sidewinding F5. And this is where we have to say goodbye to our evil heartthrob.
Boo.
For anyone listening and not watching, Sarah's pouting.
I'm almost going to cry. I love him so much.
Not the best explosion when he and his driver are killed. That one looks a bit... Yeah, Zach's not happy about that either. It looks a bit tacky,
He was a jerk, though. Like, even his crew was like, let's just listen to them. Like, they know what they're talking about. You don't.
Yeah,
and
his
like,
driver...
Nah, arrogant twat.
His driver should have just, unilaterally withdrew from contention.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's pretty much of the known characters, the people we meet in the movie, he's pretty much, him and his driver are the only ones that die, right?
You would have thought with the tornado movie, more people would die, but that's okay.
Sarah Perkins-Kirkpatrick, I wish more people died of tornadoes, quote.
Oh, no.
Put that on your Science Media Exchange expert profile.
Oh, I didn't say I wish it. I said I thought they would have. It's a blockbuster Hollywood movie from the 30s, from 30 years ago. Wouldn't they have wanted to kill off more people because of the genre? No? I'm not saying I wish it.
2026 State of the Climate Report. Not enough people are dying from extreme weather. High impact weather needs to make a stronger impact, so please, Sarah. Meanwhile, okay, so, I mean, at this point...
I did say that.
Do you have a recording of the conversation? This is where like the kitchen sink starts to get thrown at us. So we've got tractors and combine harvesters coming down all over the road, and a house blows over the road,
which they then have to drive through.
So, a house could technically blow over like that, surely.
Yeah.
But, the drive-through is a bit ridiculous, but they do get carried away, don't they? Or is that
I think I like this bit. I think that they have been relatively modest in what the tornadoes have been doing to things. And in this, dramatic conclusion, we've got to have some large things to deal with. And
yes, that's true.
Yeah, and again, I was looking at it.
It's not super likely that they'd all kind of land in a neat line along the highway like that. But
True,
I didn't.
true.
For dramatic license, I didn't mind it either.
And it was interesting. I was trying to tell what was CGI and what wasn't, and it looked like they'd got quite a few old tractors and combine harvesters and probably dropped them from a crane. With the cameras rolling. Like, it looked pretty good. They put the truck on cruise control and they drive out into the cornfield, and Dorothy is away, and stirring music is cued, and oh goodness me, they've done it.
They've done it. And the thing that I liked best about this was that as soon as the data starts flowing in and their colleagues are off looking at the data and being really happy about it, the I don't know her name, but one of the scientists says, it's about to turn left. Like, they can immediately tell because of this new data that's coming in. So
I mean, really, Really, they should have been publishing right then and there, you know?
They probably had a submitted manuscript by then, I imagine.
Makes me wonder why all these PhD students take 3 years to produce anything, you know?
Yeah.
Just come on, guys. Just chuck your Dorothy into the cornfield and get on with it.
Look at it.
Just do it. Jeez.
Do better, work harder.
Yeah, wow. Oh, there another direct quote from Sarah Perkins-Kirkpatrick to every PhD student in the centre. Be more like me.
No, I'm not.
No. I jest. You're all wonderful and much smarter than me. I wouldn't have the attention span to do a graduate certificate. So yes, heroically, Dorothy is working, but our heroes are not out of the woods or out of the cornfield or out of the storm yet, because as Tim's pointed out, the tornado is coming back for them. It's coming after them. It's going to take revenge.
F you for putting those little balls into me. I'm coming
F5,
back.
more like F5 you.
F5 you. Yep.
Yeah, it's coming back to take revenge for putting little balls in them. So they run to the nearby farmhouse, and I've written here that I think for the time, this is a pretty good blend of practical effects and CGI, you know? Because at this point, the wood of the fence starts flying past them, and, you know,
they can still run, though.
They can still run, even though, they can run, even though the wind probably would whisk them away.
Apart, but they can still run along with no real difficulty.
Look at you little spoil sport sitting there.
Sorry. Yeah.
I love it.
And they run into the barn, which is full of very sharp and scary tools, all swinging away in the wind. So no, they don't stay there. They run for a smaller shed, and they anchor themselves to some pipes. I guess these are like irrigation water pipes for the fields, maybe, or something like that. Maybe gas pipes, I don't know. And
they're not sewage pipes.
Hopefully not, no. And they anchor themselves to the pipe with leather straps. What do we make of this, Tim? So I mean, the tornado rips the shed away, and they are just being lifted into the air and held there purely by these like leather belts they found. My view was that in an F5, even if the belts held onto the pipes, their bodies would be ripped apart either side of the belts. What do you think would happen?
I thought this was really highly unrealistic, but great drama, you know, really fun, amazing to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, when everything else is being totally ripped apart and it's picking up oil tankers and things, it doesn't seem all that likely that they'd survive.
Could a tornado rip you to shreds? Like, could it be so strong it pulls your body apart?
I don't know.
I feel like this is my rationale as a doctor. If the, you know, like, so in that example, right, they've got those leather belts around themselves and around the pipes. If the leather's integrity and the pipe's integrity held, I feel like you would be spliced either side of the belt. Like it would dig through you at such a velocity, you know, like you would be cut in half. And the belt would still be there with like entrails and blood on it, and your legs and your torso would just be whisked off into the air.
Miss 8 would have loved that.
Yeah, I was going to say this is some gore.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what I think. Tornadoes, as Tim said earlier, they are selective about what they pick up and don't pick up. So maybe, just maybe, they might have lived through this experience.
I call bullshit.
Yeah, you wanted to see the dismembered torsos into the air, didn't you?
I didn't.
Where did she get it from, I wonder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that was super likely either, but they did get to see the inside of a tornado and think they were taking notes the whole time. You know, they were going to incorporate that into their research afterwards.
Well, this bit is not so far-fetched. We have had on the podcast already, and we work with researchers who have been inside the eye of a cyclone and who were motivated to study weather and climate by their near-death experience in cyclones or hurricanes. So that bit checks out.
Yeah, true.
So they don't die, and the storm, having hung around for about 16 hours, magically dissipates. Our crew arrive. Joe and Bill kiss, and all is well.
As my 8-year-old did, they went... and she was almost throwing up at this stage. Like,
I mean, maybe...
kiss. Why do people kiss like that?
Another reason I might have liked the film when I was 10 is there's none of that nonsense to fast forward through. It's all just action, you know?
Yeah, very true.
There's no romance. It's all... I mean, there's relationship stuff, which I didn't really understand, but it's mostly just dogs not dying and people dying and tornadoes.
One person dying, but yes.
Things being ripped apart.
She's still doing this. She was grossed out by that. Hates it.
Can you do it again for us, please, Sarah? How does it work?
She could probably do it better.
It is a ridiculous practice. Children are right and we are wrong.
Yeah.
Roll credits, and there's a few interesting things here, right, which I think in retrospect check out. So I don't know if anyone noticed. Were you watching the credits, Sarah, or were you gone by this point? You were like,
I don't
out.
remember.
Written by
Don't remember.
Written by Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park, the book.
Yes, I did know that, whether it was from watching the credits or not, but I didn't know that yet.
Yeah, so I didn't know he was also a screenwriter. Having tried recently to read Jurassic Park, I have to say that his screenwriting is much better than his actual writing. Because Jurassic Park is absolutely turgid nonsense. I love that film. But it is appalling. The book is appallingly written. Like some of the worst dialogue I've ever read. I had to stop.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
The film's the same kind of time, right? The original, was it?
The film was 93. Yeah.
Okay, a little earlier. Yeah.
And it holds up really well too.
Yeah,
I don't think we can just. I mean, there is a storm in it. There is a tropical storm in Jurassic Park. So maybe in 2030,
stretch,
when we run out of weather and climate movies, we could give it a go, Sarah. Where it is? What are we? This place, this movie has a special place in my heart. I think it's great.
I really enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah.
How long had it been since watchings, Tim?
Decades. Really long time. But it was super fun. And what I kept thinking was, I kind of started it up expecting that I'd look at it and go, they're using this completely out-of-date technology and blah, blah, blah. But actually, although the technology's improved massively since then and to now, the kind of basics, the contours of it are kind of similar. Like, the biggest thing is that no one has mobile phones in the movie. So, now people would be checking data on their mobile phones all the time and you get live data. But, the basic tools, they talk about weather models, they talk about radar, they talk about satellite. They have all been going all this time and have just been getting better.
I love that. That's a great reflection that we've made no progress.
There it is, quote from me.
Should we do our formal conclusion, Sarah, and then you can go and do the school run? Thanks to Tim for allowing us to join him as honorary storm chasers.
I'm going to fuck this sentence up. It's too long for me.
It doesn't say that.
No, but I'm just looking and going, shit, I should have read this beforehand. Looking ahead, we're going to be watching more weather and climate films like The Perfect Storm, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and The Avengers. Sorry, not that one.
Until then, join us for the next regular episode of Totally Cooked.
And we'll tackle the climate crisis together.
Cool.